Hey, everybody.
We're live. And you can actually put our names under us if you want.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and actually take the live soon off.
Yeah, because we are live.
Yes. Bing. And hey, there. It's in fancy colors. Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Cherie. And
we're in chaos mode. Again. But
yes, we're also Technomadia. In chaos.
We're taking on a lot of projects this month because that's the sort of thing we do when we stop. And we want to just kind of share some of our life in the middle of that chaos and some of the tips for surviving it.
And also give you a sneak peek at some of the stuff we're up to.
Projects.
So we've had the boats for just over a year now. Guys, for 14 months. And anytime you get a new house, I don't care if it's a house, an RV, a boat, a yurt, a tent.
Tents usually come pre-assembled. You just got to click a few things and stuff, yes.
But you always have projects. I mean,
when you buy something used in particular.
You want to make it your own. If you're not building something from scratch to your spec, usually there's a whole list when you first move in of things that you want to do to your home, your new home, to make it yours. And I know we're getting a lot of comments of, oh my gosh, you're throwing a lot of money into the hole because it's a boat. Like, it's no worse than our RV or
our house, and it might not be an appreciating asset like some potential real estate is, but whatever. It's where we live. It's what we enjoy in our life, and so we're making the boat our own. We're doing projects, and about this time last year, we actually posted kind of our roadmap of projects, our big list of these are the things we wanted to tackle, and we actually did a video tour walking around the boat showing this is we want to do this here, we want to do this year. But the way we approach projects is we kind of take them on by either when things break, they jump to the top of the upgrade list, or serendipity, when we find the right place and people and time.
So what we find important is we have a list. When we first moved in, we went through, we each independently just thought about the things that we wanted to change. And then we got together and we made a list. And Chris made a great blog post about it. If I had thought in advance, I would have put a link in there. But I will add that afterwards down in the description if you want to go back to that old post. And then we just have them always on our mind. And when we're making plans to move into a new location, we start putting feelers out for what might be possible to accomplish at that next stop. And that's a difficulty when you're in motion, whether it's an RV or a boat, is coordinating all these projects while you're moving locations yourself.
Yeah, because by the time you find like who's the good local person to do X, Y, and Z, it's hard to find those people in advance. A lot of times people don't want to talk to you or bid on a project or even talk about a project until you're there and they could see it. And then, you tell them, we're leaving in 2 weeks or we're leaving in a month. And they're like, I'm 5 weeks booked out and it's a 3-week project. This ain't going to happen. And they're like, and meanwhile, they told you they'd give you an appointment in a week. And like, why'd you waste my time and not tell me your schedule in advance? And so it is very challenging to try and take on bigger projects sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Especially the ones that require a lot of planning, a lot construction work, and things like that. So when we're coming into Fort Pierce, we had our list, of course, and on the list is perpetually lithium and solar. And unfortunately, that one just did not come together here. And it's not for the lithium or the solar, really. It's for, that involves creating a new bimini on our flybridge, and finding someone who do canvas work is very difficult to find who's not booked out 6 months in advance.
It seems that's one of the most hardest things to find, good quality canvas people who are interested in talking about doing something unique and creative, and then who are not booked forever. And so we can't really tackle the solar until we've got a place to put it. But the one that was more urgent, that had us coming into Fort Pierce, is like, we just can't do this anymore, is our generator was just not reliable. Our generator was failing on us, and we had several people look at it, and it's just been kind of a game of whack-a-mole. And we're like, even if we had our dream solar setup installed, we still need a generator as a backup. So that became like, we need something that we could trust and rely on.
So if you watched, we just updated the travelogue series for the Great Loop series to our arrival here to Fort Pierce. And in there we talked about the struggles with the generator. And this has been going on since last summer. And basically what was happening with the generator is, regardless of the load on it, it would just brown out. So it would just cycle down, come back up, and sometimes it would take out electronic, not take them out like permanently, but
No, but it'd be a brownout. Sometimes the inverter actually crashed and would go out. And usually the inverter would just deal with it, but the air conditioners would stall. Not very good for air conditioners to have the power go. And sometimes the generator would stall completely, and sometimes it would have trouble starting up again. And we probably could have eventually gotten to the bottom of it. It seemed like there very likely wasn't just one thing wrong with the generator. The deeper we dug into it, it seemed like it was kind of a combination of factors. And if we had infinite time and patience, we probably could have gotten the old generator working well, but it was a 20-year-old generator that had not been kept up very, very well, and had way too few hours on it than it should have for its age, actually. So it had who knows how many mystery problems, and it was way bigger than we needed.
right. So the original generator, what I've got a screenshot up of is of the new one that's in there, but that compartment is on our cockpit. So this area right back behind us, and there's 3 compartments that lift up, and those are called a lazarette. And the old generator basically took up that entire bay that Chris is sitting in that photo.
Yeah, it went from one end of it to the other. It was a big 12,000 watt.
12 and a half.
Yeah,
Right?
12 and a half, 12.5 kilowatt Westerbeek. Big red beast. It was Westerbeek's a great brand. They got a good reputation, but it was old and not in the greatest shape. And we could have taken the thing completely apart,
Rebuilt it.
Yeah, and we could have we could have put a lot of money into troubleshooting it, and only to determine that really wasn't savable. That was a very real possibility, but more importantly, that would have taken a lot of time. And when we're here for a month, we're like, we need to have this problem solved when we leave. And once the mechanic here looked at it and spent some time, he spent actually our first half of the month trying to fix it, and he's like, I think this isn't gonna. This is my instincts say just don't put any more money into trying to fix this. Find something new.
And considering we were going on how many months at that point, almost a year of having difficulty with it, and having had other mechanics look at it and come to a similar conclusion.
Well,
and you've spent countless hours diagnosing. I mean, we couldn't diagnose it down to a fuel issue, air issue, override issue.
We have it.
We have it. We'd fix one thing and then another and then another.
We kept finding issues.
And when it gets down to a point when you're looking at spending $4,000 or $5,000 on a 20-year-old generator that you know is oversized and louder and uses more fuel than you want, it's like, okay, at this point, let's just stop. Let's stop. So we decided to get a brand new generator installed. So we went with a Northern Lights 6,000 kilowatt hour. So half the size.
6,000 watt, yes.
And we just looked at what are our normal loads, and when manufacturers are putting these larger generators in, they're looking at what the maximum load is going to be at the boat under full, like all the air conditioners starting up at the same time.
The air conditioner, the oven, and the microwave, and everything possible going, which because you don't want the generator to stall on a paying customer who treats a mobile electronic power system as a house does. But if you're energy conscious and I really can't run everything at once, 6,000 watts is plenty, particularly once we get a boosting inverter installed, because if the power needs are temporarily more than the 6,000 watts the generator can put out, it pulls from the batteries, and we will still actually, once we have the Victron there, we'll effectively have a 12,000 watt power source. So we'll once we do the inverter project, we'll have just as much power as we did before, but much better sized generator.
So eventual goal, and the generator, here actually I'll go back to the slideshow, and I have to click on this one, and there you go. So to do the generator, we actually had to have 2 haul outs of the boat.
Yes.
So first haul out, we had to have a crane to take out the old one, and we have some fantastic footage of that coming up, commentated by
Captain Chris.
Of Captain Chris Caldwell, one of our training captains.
It's fascinating. It's like a 20-minute video of a generator being lifted up with this like baseball announcer play-by-play of every little thing happening.
We'll get that produced, and we will actually do a dedicated video just to the generator, so you'll get to see all this. But so we had to have the crane come in and take out the old one, and then we had to go rebuild the interior. Yeah. So we can do that while sitting in the sling. Well, we could have, but we would be paying like $100 an hour for being in the travel lift.
And theoretically, actually, because it was better shape underneath than we realized, we might have actually been able to do it all at once. But anyway, we had to do 2 lifts to take it down, then get prepped for the new generator, lift again. The reason we had to do this in the lift is because our generator is in the cockpit with that overhang of our upper deck, and so the crane couldn't reach in couldn't reach down and in while still in the water. You have to be out of the water to give it an uplift to it.
So we had to be hauled out twice for that, to put it back in. So we just had to put back in on Friday.
Yes.
So we're over there. But the other difficulty with all of this and scheduling is, number one, recording the schedule at the Boatyard. And we have a great little do-it-yourself Boatyard. And this is
Cracker
the one.
Boys, yes.
This is the one we were coming up to Fort Pierce back in November when we hit the channel marker down in Miami. Because you can bring in your own people and do your own work in the Boatyard there.
Yeah, and they are ridiculously fast. Like, we pull in, before we barely get the engine stopped, and we're already lifting up and driving away. The crane is moving, and the generator's out, and we're back in the water. It's like half an hour.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
incredibly efficient,
head spinning fast.
But we've had, if you've been watching the weather down here in Florida, we have had a couple of weather systems moving through that have delayed the yard, delayed our mechanic's availability, their ability. So we're like in this waiting game, constant waiting game of being able to get over there, which is fine. So yeah, so it's been an ongoing project for about a month dealing with the generator.
Yes.
It is in, and the mechanic will be coming over early this week and getting it all hooked up.
I got the wires pulled last night, actually, so we got the control wires ready, waiting for him. The mechanic will probably finish it next day or two, depending we get a good break in the rain, because again, it's out in the cockpit. So
yep. So that's project number one. That's been a lot. And then, while you got everything opened up, you got this nice big open space. We decided to run 4-aught cable from the house batteries to the inverter, which is going to increase our charging capacity.
Yeah, so whoever, and theoretically this was professionally installed, but whoever installed the inverter that was on this boat used way undersized wiring. They used 2-gauge wiring when it should have been 4-aught wiring for the size of inverter and the size of currents. And that would mean we'd turn on the microwave and the inverter would stall. We'd actually have to start the generator to run the microwave, even though the inverter's plenty powerful enough for that, because there'd be so much voltage sag. And I had to actually derate the charging capability of our inverter to half speed charging, just because it was basically just heating up the cables. It was not safe, not smart, not a good thing. So yeah, now we had everything pulled apart. We got 4-aught cables pulled through tight little holes and crevices, and we'll be able to get the inverter properly wired.
Yeah, so we'll still have the old lead acid batteries,
and it's still the old inverter. It's not our fancy Victron that we're planning on, but will be a major upgrade for right now.
Right, and it also has the cabling in place now that if we want to do just lithium and inverter upgrade, we can do that without the solar.
Yes, exactly. We're kind of prepping and preparing for all future
eventualities. It'll be a lot easier job to do when that maybe at our next stop we'll be able to arrange that, at least that part of it.
Yes.
And then maybe we can find a bimini maker and get the solar done on the
roof. Yep, at some point.
All projects. But it's always this question of, we want to be out exploring and doing the loop and cruising and having a life along with this. So you're always choosing how much time and energy do you want to put into projects.
Because projects are fun, but you've got to balance them. you can only go so far. And actually, we kind of do best when we do projects as
intense.
Let's okay, so we're doing the generator now. We're about to tell you about the other tear apart our house intense project we took on at the same time, because hey, if you're going to be chaotic on one half of the boat, why not make it chaotic on the
everywhere
other? and then be done. Like we like to do it in a rush.
Yep. And hopefully then now we'll have a couple months even of not dealing with projects other than regular maintenance on the boat, and just being able to enjoy the cruising again. But that's not to say we are enjoying time in Fort Pierce. We are getting balance here. We are having a wonderful balance here, and that's one of the keys. We'll talk about that after we get through the next project. So I go back to slideshow with video overlay. I click on this one, and let's see if I can find the right... Unfortunately, this thing imported the things all wrong. Okay, there we go. So that is a picture of our living room before we tore it apart. So where we are sitting, this would be basically what we would see if we were looking that way out the window. And that is the default cabinetry that the Bayliner 4788 came with.
All shelves behind cabinet doors and a nice little Corian top that wraps around, and it was very pretty. The shelves were only a few inches deep, so it was the cabinet spaces was not a lot of great storage there. And it's the thing we've always craved over there is we wanted a big screen TV, because right now our TV and Cherie's main work spot is the the dining room table. You can see the edge of it in that picture. There is the table, coffee table, dining room table, living room table. It's got our computer on it. When we sit and eat, we can't see each other because our computer's right there in the middle of it. And when we're curled up watching things, we're watching on a relatively small monitor and stuff on kind of staring at a computer on the couch. So the vision we have is we want a big pop-up TV over here and an office desk for our computer.
So a lot of other Bayliner owners, and there's if you're considering a Bayliner, definitely join the Bayliner Owners Club. It's a online forums for owners of Bayliners, and they had shared some others that have done the pop-up conversion, and some had used the original cabinetry to do that.
Yeah, just expanding out behind there to put in inserts and stuff.
But somehow ours ended up with tearing out the whole cabinetry.
Oh,
I'm
no,
still not quite sure how that came about.
Yeah, the other projects, they still tore out everything. It's just, they rebuilt it and used the same front doors and stuff. Yes, they used the same frame.
Yeah, and especially once we got in, the back corner had some water damage from a prior leak, and it was not salvageable. Anyway, so what we did, so that's kind of what it looks like right now, is on the way in, a couple months ago in one of our videos, we had mentioned that we were looking to do cabinetry work and we're coming to Fort Pierce, and had just put out there, hey, if anyone knows of a carpenter who would want to work with us.
And who has availability.
And lo and behold, a viewer named Robert, who has an RV here in the area, had been working with someone named John Wood. Wood is his real name, and he is a carpenter. It's very appropriate.
Yep.
And put us in contact. So John was actually very amenable because of the personal connection with Robert talking with us in advance.
Yeah, and he lived on a boat in the past, but he never worked on boats. He's been doing house carpentry, and he's looking for a new challenge. For better or for worse, that might have been a warning sign. But yeah, he was like, I'm tired of doing kitchen cabinets and all these boring white cabinet boxes and stuff. I want to do something cool and interesting, and your project sounds fun. And we really clicked with him, and we started designing what we wanted to do here.
So Jonathan, he does all his work in his shop, and he really doesn't like to do tear out and install. We're like, well, we can do that part.
Yes.
So,
At first he put us in touch with he found some other local marine contractor who came by, looked at the job, said he'd get back to us, and never did. Again, we got completely ghosted on.
Those were all videos. Okay,
Yeah.
I had videos of us working on it, but we again took a lot of footage, especially for other Bayliner owners, of how it all comes apart. So we will put that up. So basically, we bought a 49-inch television, and so started fitting with a lift that we found, and then Jonathan has been over. There's Kiki watching TV. It's just been on the floor while we've been in Project Chaos mode. So Kiki is enjoying having a large screen television.
Yes, it's been working great low, and we haven't had it raised other than just in test fittings right now, and so any day now. For the past week, we'll be getting the cabinets ready to be mounted, and then we still got to finish the countertop and all that other stuff. But
So the other part of the project is that corner desk. So you can see in this photo, we are test fitting, kind of playing around with the cardboard aided design, or CAD, of what we kind of want to, what the vision is over there. So I'll have a corner office view, and there's the original again. Sorry, these are so out of order. These
the slides imported weird.
Yes, they did. Okay, I'm trying to get back to it. All right, so there is the cabinetry is pretty much done. He's just now working on the doors. So you can see that coming together there. That's
the lift fully extended there, and in the process of this, we're actually taking advantage of kind of space in the wall. We ran Ethernet from one end of the boat to the other, so we've got wired Ethernet for everything, for the servers, for the TV, for the Xbox. We got an Xbox too, so we can watch Blu-rays and play games. So while the wall's open, we've been pulling wires every which way, getting everything prepped, putting antenna hookups in, and all this stuff. There's a kind of a quick mock-up of the desk space.
Yeah, he just brought it. We won't have a leg there. It'll actually be attached to the wall, but he brought a temporary leg over so we could just play around with the space. And that's Jonathan there. He's actually a really cool guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite work on a schedule, which usually we like, but when we're on a schedule ourselves. So we are delayed here. We're about 2 weeks past our checkout date.
Yeah, but both the generator and the TV project are still about hopefully another 4 or 5 days away from being done.
And a lot of that, honestly, is weather. It's really hard to bring in cabinetry when it's raining and not destroy it. And the generator is kind of outside, so. A lot of it has been weather. It's been really freaking raining around here. So Yeah, you just go with the flow. The marina we're at is mostly empty because it's a brand new marina and it is now off season in this area. Most of the smart people have already headed north. So the marina's being really cooperative. They're just giving us a prorated daily rate based on our old monthly rate. So it's
a bargain to stay here, and we love Fort Pierce, so we're having a great time here. So
that's been awesome. So, yeah, we've been tackling some other projects as we go through with all of this other stuff. So we have continuing leaks from Irma that she created with the arch. So we redid all the sealant up on the fly bridge.
Yep, we've been hunting leaks. We're getting closer to having none. Just caulked another spot today in a break in the rain. So hopefully we're finding and learning all about the places water can sneak into a Bayliner. Oh, the kitchen. We tore apart the kitchen too.
Oh yeah, I think
I've got scars on my leg in 2 places from taking out the old stove and oven.
That's the only fine. You'll have to put up with these slides again. Just a moment. There we go. It is. So that is what the oven. It was a Princess 3-burner oven, and we had bought a dual induction cooktop set on top. That just we put over on the top of it. And that's what we've been using.
Last year we also upgraded the old microwave to a convection microwave.
No, you can just actually use the camera there. Just don't go too far.
Spin this around. There we go.
And we go back to iPhone. Yeah, so there's the kitchen. There's the convection microwave oven.
And still the big gap where the old one was.
So the plan that we've been wanting to do is, that's the induction cooktop you can see on top, is we want that inset at counter level. And then we just want to have a storage cabinet underneath, which is exactly what we did in the bus. We really love that setup for the way that we live. So he's also turning that into a cabinet, and that's where the Instant Pot and rice cooker and other gadgets that we use reside, pots and pans as well. And
took advantage of having that open space. The wall exposed is the back wall of the guest bedroom, and hey, this is accessible now. Let's use the space time to mount a wall-mounted TV in there and put power outlets and a USB charging stand and everything else in there. So
guest
other
room
upgrades
now has its own television for anyone considering cruising with us.
Yes.
So yeah, it's been lots of projects, but dealing with the chaos. I mean, it's constantly a mess. I mean, you just have to put up with it, and I always just keep repeating to myself, it's a choice.
Yeah.
We are blessed to have the opportunity to have this chaos. It's the way I look at it. Because any other way, it gets crazy. Yeah. But we are enjoying life here in Fort Pierce. We're having a great time. We have the Mini Cooper with us, so we can get out and about. And yeah, it's a great. We just walk over the causeway, and we're right downtown. So it's about a 1.5 mile walk over to downtown, or a dinghy ride across. We can go land at the city marina right across the intercoastal.
We've had wonderful restaurants here, and the live music and entertainment and stuff in this town is pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, every Tuesday night there's a jazz and or blues fest or a jam session over there. There's a farmer's market every Saturday morning. The Sunrise Theater is here. It's an old converted theater that they bring in. We've gone to
two shows there.
2 tribute bands, Queen, and we did
Pink Floyd on Friday night. Yeah.
Just super fun. Great museums around here. The Navy SEAL Museum we did last weekend with my mom. My mom's just about an hour away, so she comes down and stays with us.
And so, want to share any tips for dealing with the chaos?
Oh, that's one of the tips.
Okay, find yourselves to be entertained. Yeah,
get out of the house and do stuff.
Yes.
The other is we try to create at least one room in the house now, because we have a boat with rooms. That's
a lot easier than
it's a lot easier than in the bus. One room that is like off limits from projects and stays neat and clean and tidy, so there's somewhere to escape.
Which room is that?
The bedroom. That's why
I actually did a little project in the slide there. So
as long as you cleaned it up.
I did, yeah. And actually, that's one of the things that particularly when I have to make a big explosion of chaos is Cherie goes to bed earlier, and I will explode the living room.
He will.
And then be like a little chaos fairy doing work at night, and hopefully have it all put back together before she comes out in the morning. But if she comes out in the middle of the night, she'll be like, ah!
And then I just go back to my little cave.
I'm turning around. I'm pretending I didn't see that. Because the other day when I was figuring out how to pull the wires from here to here through under the bus, I had the couch is pulled
boat,
apart.
yes.
The boat is a floating bus, and they had everything basically from one end of the living room to the other pulled apart with wires stringing here to there. But it's amazing how many tight spots there are in a boat that with little exposed screws to cut you, and that you can have to work in places you can only feel and can't see. But it's fun.
It has been fun. Any other tips for dealing with the chaos? We try not to make, like, I find when we're in boat project mode, doing things like a lot of cooking at home doesn't happen.
No, it's a lot. It's trying to think about food. Is you want quick and easy meals, and go out, get takeout. Just because you don't want the kitchen mess and the pile of dishes just mentally adding to that.
But we do cook at home sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just easier to throw some fish on the grill and have try to keep the meals simple. Like one of my favorite meals I'm craving is I do some awesome gluten-free eggplant parmesan, and it's kind of one of our treat meals. We try to do it like once a month.
Nice.
And it's just too much chaos in the kitchen. So I've got this beautiful eggplant in there I need to do
Probably
something with.
Going bad, yes.
And I hate wasting food like that. But I can't bring myself to, well, the time that I think I have time for it, it's just too much chaos. So.
And then there's the classic advice of just you got to resist the temptation to rush too. The more you rush, the longer things take, because then things break or
mistakes are made.
Then you got to redo them and stuff. And the more time you spend thinking, the more efficient and proper the actual motions can be.
Lots of like Jonathan was coming over just a couple times a week and just taking measurements, and then he'd bring back a prototype of what he would build, and we'd make a small adjustment. And but by and large, I mean, when he brought over the cabinet with the TV installed, it had 3/16 of an inch to spare. It was done precisely. So planning pays off.
Yeah, you should see just how close it is coming up.
Yeah, we have some great video of this also. Each of these projects we'll put together a video on, and we're also behind on other project videos. Like, I still want to do a video about our dinghy and davit system. I want
We got a lot of great footage on that, right? But we haven't gotten around to filming our nice, cool drone dinghy shots because.
Well, when we did, that's when the stupid generator broke down, and then we hit the stupid channel marker. So
yes,
life gets in the way sometimes. We also want to do one. We want to do a tour of our new marine electronics that we installed back in Miami. Now that we've got some hands-on time and are learning them.
Yeah, and here we've been using them a lot with the Doppler radar to track the storms coming in, which is kind of nice to have our own live radar. It's like, here comes the line of storms.
Yep, being our own, learning about our own meteorology. So we can stick around for a little bit. We can be happy to take some questions. I see there's some in the chat room over there, so feel free to ask questions. If you're one of our patrons, after this we will be going over to our private patron hangout, and that's more of an interactive two-way video, so we can get to know you as well. So if you want to join us for that, you can still time to join us over there on Patreon. We always are asked, we do these for fun. Technomadia is our personal channel. This is just
Mobile Internet Resource Center's workday for us.
Yeah. So that's our day job, is running, keeping you guys updated on mobile internet stuff. So be sure to go over to the Mobile Internet Resource Center YouTube channel, subscribe there. That's where we have news stories and product overviews and guides about mobile internet now. But here is our personal time. This is us inviting you into our living room to hang out, kind of happy hour-ish. It's all a gift to you. We wouldn't do this if we didn't have time and energy to do it, so we love sharing and hopefully hearing back from you guys too. If you want to say thanks, we do have a leave a tip button on the bottom of every page over at technomadia.com. We always appreciate it. We don't do this for money, though. We're not asking for you to chip in, but if you want to say thanks, we always appreciate it.
Yeah, and some of the best ways we find people thank us is they give us great good tips and stuff of like, hey, I know a carpenter in Fort Pierce, let me introduce you.
Yeah.
Hey, that's awesome. That comes from doing stuff like this.
Or if we're coming your way, we love local contacts. We love people to share something awesome about their town. Maybe go out to dinner or something like that. So, invite us in. Give us tips about your town when we're coming through. We love that sort of stuff. So,
scroll back and grab a few of these questions.
Yes.
The RV Geeks are here?
Yes,
hey guys.
RV.
Oh, cool.
Peter
Awesome.
and John are here. Joe's here. What is the thing with the dial? So I'm going to go back to the go ahead, you can start explaining it, and I will find the thing with the dials.
And so that there on the left, that those are the main battery disconnects for the 2 engine starting batteries, the house battery, and the generator battery. So 4 big on-off switches. And we're actually, while the wall is pulled apart, I've been learning and tracing and figuring out and understanding all those wires while they're exposed. And we're actually going to be moving our windlass from the house battery to one of the starting batteries, because there's no need for all that big load on the house batteries. Much better place to put it is on a starting battery. So now's the chance.
Willy Wonka wants to know, have you had any issue with your air conditioning, and how did you resolve?
We did have, about this time last year, we had actually,
It was I was looking through the project list. I think it was the pilot
house air conditioner went out, died.
And it was a control board.
Yeah, needed a new control board. We hired. Happened to. There was a guy working on the next dock over. Went over and said, "Hey, you're an air conditioning person. Can you take a look?" And so we didn't have to wait weeks and stuff. And he was able to come and fix it and taught us quite a bit about it in the process. I think that's the only issues we've had.
We've had 2 other issues. One was one of the water pumps went out.
Oh yeah, I changed that.
So we just researched what was the right one, and we changed it out ourselves.
Yeah.
And every other air conditioning issue that we've had, if cool air starts coming through, the first thing you diagnose, and I'm not saying this as an expert, I'm saying this because we learned our lesson, go check your sea strainers. They probably are clogged up. And I would say every single time it's turned out to be clogged.
Except for when the pump died.
Except for that time.
Yeah, so check the sea strainers. We have learned a lesson twice recently.
With hauling out.
Yeah, because when your boat is lifted out of the water, if you don't close the sea strainers before they lift you out of the water, all the water drains out of your air conditioning system, and those are not self-priming pumps. So it means your air conditioners won't work again once you're back in the water until you partially disassemble them and reprime the pumps. And we got hauled out, and we're like, we're not going to make that mistake again.
No, when we got relaunched in Miami, because we really didn't know this when we got hauled out in Miami. It wasn't until we relaunched it. Oh, right, yeah, duh, we should have. Yep. But okay, we talked up new boat owners, first haul out. Okay, lesson learned. We'll remember it next time. Okay, so we're hauled out for the first time to get the generator pulled. No, and we came back. It's like, we'll remember it next time.
Third time this is Cracker Boy's fault, because they are so friggin' fast. It's that you don't even have time to think about it. You pull in.
We could have done it before we left, though.
We could have done it before we left, but yeah, we're not used to that level of speed.
Thankfully, hauling out is something that shouldn't be done
very
that
frequently.
often, but it is something to remember. Is shut your seacocks before being hauled out, and it'll save you a lot of time.
Yep.
And especially if it's hot when you come back home.
Yep. Because then you have to crawl into the engine room
where it's
really hot, and you're dripping sweat trying to undo the hoses and reprime the pumps, and then you really need the air conditioning by the time you get crawl back out of that engine room. But so hopefully third time's the charm. We will not forget that next again, and hopefully we'll not need to be hauled out again for quite a while.
This question is weight a consideration when doing the cabinetry?
I think marble might have been a bad idea.
I mean, definitely weight is always a consideration. But since we were removing existing cabinetry, we're putting in cabinetry. It is a little bit thicker of a wood. It will probably add a few pounds, especially with the TV.
But overall, the weight is not as... Actually, we're gaining a ton of weight because the new generator is half the weight, or almost half the weight of the old one. The old one was 700 something pounds. New one's 400 something pounds. So we just took out a whole lot more weight than we're bringing in.
Right. And you do want to consider your weight being kind of more evenly distributed. And since our waste tank is on this side of the boat, having a little extra weight on that side of the boat is actually not a bad thing to do for weight distribution. Yeah. So another question about the dials, which I think we just talked about. Earl wants to know what's the link for the after party. So our after parties are now our patron hangouts, and our patrons can find the link on Patreon. It is in the most recent post. You can get the broadcast details there, and if you're not a Patreon yet, you still time to join and join us this evening.
And we're not like you. There's lots of the
basic $1 level.
The lowest tier that patron lets us set is there. This is just to kind of have a
more closed community,
so we can have two-way video chats, which is fun.
And we can have it be a little bit more of an after party without, our point of our Patreon is not for funding. Our Patreon is more to have the closed community where we can be ourselves, where we can be. I mean, we are ourselves. I mean, this is us.
But yeah, but makes it more interactive, which is kind of fun. We really like that.
Yeah, we wanted a chance to get to know people who felt called enough to get to know us by paying Patreon. Basically, a lot of it goes to Patreon for the buck.
So somebody hiking with Hendrix wants to know about our convection microwave. It is a GE profile, and we've been pretty happy with it.
Yeah, we installed it last year and found it pretty intuitive. It was a drop-in replacement for the microwave oven that came on the Bayliner. Yeah. So just some tight wiring up at the top, but it's pretty easy to... In fact, Sears came out and installed it on the boat for us.
Yeah, we got the Sears guy to help with the install, and it's good.
Yeah. All right. Well, unless there's any other questions, I think that we will...
Go get a little walk.
You wanna show them a view outside?
I could do that.
Can't go too far.
Only have this much wire. There's a closer look at these dials people have been wondering about. There we are. And our big 49-inch TV. 55 would have been nicer, but 49 is the biggest that'll fit inside a cabinet at desk height. All this chaos over here. I'm doing all the electrical wiring myself, so I'm putting outlets all along that back area. There'll be outlets for everything, as well as network outlets and TV jacks and stuff. The generator lives right down under there, and there's no way the camera cable will quite reach to that. But.
Cool. We got some more questions that have come in.
Oh, okay.
Have we seen any vintage yachts in our travels so far?
Seen many, yeah. I've not seen insides, but
there's a lot of great boats from the 70s. What's cool about boats versus RVs is boats from the 70s and 80s can still look fantastic, because especially if they were built to high standards back in those days. And definitely some beautiful vessels out there. Did you consider installing a dishwashing drawer where the oven was? And we know people who have done that, have taken out an oven. I have never been called to a dishwasher.
And dishwashing is not a chore that feels particularly choresome.
I typically found when I lived in a house, my dishwasher just became another cabinet. Especially with only 2 people, it was never full enough. Now I know the smaller ones would be more like one. It's just a lot of water use too. Yeah. I don't know. It's just
a dishwasher can use less water than the way most people hand wash, but we're very efficient with hand washing, so we don't use a ton of water.
Yeah, it's really just not a big deal. We try to minimize the dishes that we are utilizing in our cooking and our eating, and washing up a few dishes is really it just wasn't worth the losing the cabinetry space for pots and pans and things like that. So no, we didn't really consider one. Wasn't a serious consideration.
Somebody's considering doing the rebuild themselves and stuff, doing the carpentry work. I have to say, it's been really satisfying to have done so much of this ourselves.
Yeah, so we did the takeout ourselves, and Chris has actually done more of the planning on the cabinetry.
I designed every little bit of it. And I'm doing all the electrical stuff, so...
We are doing... I mean, the pieces that we can't do without owning a shop is the actual building of the cabinetry. And kind of working with someone who's very open to our ideas, and basically us feeding him the specs.
Yeah, and you learn a lot about your boat or your bus or whatever you have, or your house, when you take things apart. And you find out, oh, this wire goes here, and this goes there, and this is how works, and this is how that attaches. And that information is super valuable later, because when something else breaks, you'd be like, oh, I remember there was this wire here, or I remember there's this access here, and that's been wonderful. And I think that's some of the most satisfying things to do those things ourselves.
Let's see. Would you consider a second cat? And Kiki is now going on 10 years old, and we intend to give her the best possible life. But we are looking forward to a pet-free time after her natural lifespan.
Just because that gives us more opportunity to do international stuff.
Yeah, more styles of travel that we don't have to keep in mind. The comfort. Now, she's an extremely adaptable cat, but at some point we would enjoy traveling without considering the comfort of another animal. So at this point, I don't think we would consider a second cat.
Until after that phase.
Yeah, after that phase.
We're cat people, so.
Oh yeah, definitely will have cats in my life, but I am looking forward to a cat-free time. So, but there was a time period in which we would have considered a second cat, but it would have been Kiki's choice.
Well, like
not
just
ours.
the other day, you were saying, "Hey, we've got all these different TVs now. We need a cat in each room to snuggle with."
Yeah, we do have 3 TVs. We need 3 cats technically.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
this TV's better with a cat on your lap. So.
John would like to know: can we tell him what is a good wine? Yes.
In a glass in front of me, which we don't have any right now.
There's a bottle there that Steve dropped off.
Oh.
The Pinot Noir.
Should I open it?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Sure.
We'll open wine before the after party.
So there's wine that we enjoy, and there's good wine that we really enjoy. Our daily wine, or our house wine, I mean, we're good with like $2 Chuck from Trader Joe's. This is a bottle that one of our Patreons actually dropped off about a week ago, who was in the area visiting. Not sure we've had this particular one before, but this is the bottle that we will be enjoying this evening. Always appreciate wine gifts. It's a great gift for a nomad is consumables. So.
and love beer, but there's not a lot of beers that Cherie can have. So
I can do gluten-free ones.
Right.
But we tend to like deep reds. So we like Old Vines Infidels, Syrahs, Cabernets.
Deep red would kind of describe you.
In a deep red, yes. And we like blends as well. So that's what we tend to go for. And we're good with grocery store variety, $2 or $3 bottles, all the way up to, if we're spending more than $10 on a bottle, then we're considering ourselves splurging. Let's see. Thomas would like to know: have you considered plumbing in a way to prime the pumps without disassembly?
It'd be easier and simpler just to
shut the
do
valve.
it right.
So, cheers to you. Thank you guys for joining us and being part of our journey. It would be no fun to share about our lives on the road or water if you guys weren't watching. So we deeply appreciate that you choose to spend your time joining in with us.
Yeah, it's fun. The live stuff is very fun.
It's very fun. I would say it's less production, but you spent an hour and a half trying to get this stupid OBS software set up.
OBS. It's very powerful, but there's a lot to learn. We were hoping the slideshow we were going to have tonight was supposed to have videos in it, and Cherie prepped them all. But then OBS is like, oh yeah, we treat image stills and video separately in a slideshow. I'm like, what is this? The 90s? Video and stills are basically one and the same. So. Didn't have time to get the videos working properly.
So Kyle and Olivia just joined in. Thanks, guys. Driving and vibing on site at the filming of the RV Nomads movie. They're going to be movie stars. Kyle and Olivia would like to know: have you told the story of how Chris fell in the water today?
Yeah. So today it was calm. There was a break in the rain, and
one of the other projects here is we finally got. Stand-up paddleboard, an inflatable, something we've been wanting for quite a while.
And we've been enjoying it.
I'm loving it.
It's a really great workout. We only have one right now, so we kind of basically take turns going out. We got the little...
Great time to get... That's another chaos trick, is if it gets too chaotic here, I go out paddleboarding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've both gotten pretty comfortable in doing some nice little cruising around here. Cherie bought an Apple Watch because of the paddleboard, because the first time I went out on it, I made a phone call from my wrist. And she's like, by the time I got back, she was placing the order, because she's like, that's the ultimate safety thing. I want to have that when I'm paddleboarding by myself, is I can make a call if we get carried away or something.
Without having to bring a phone.
Yeah.
We have our Garmin InReach, which we could use if we're somewhere without.
But yeah, you're not going to clip an InReach onto a paddleboard and stuff. I guess you could.
I could. I mean, if we're somewhere without cell signal, that's what we would do.
But anyway, yeah. So she bought the watch for that, and we got the waist. Strap-on life jacket, and we've been really enjoying some paddleboard exploration.
Yes, so we decided to go out this morning because in between rainstorms, it's been rainy today, not thunderstormy, and for the first time we didn't change into swimsuits because we've been cautious that you're probably going to fall in the drink at some point. So you went out with your street clothes or boat clothes.
And yeah, so it was, and the wind was picking up, and it was actually kind of like a treadmill. I was like right in the entrance to the marina, paddling as hard as I could, basically to stand still, and I was like, wow, this is a great workout. This is exactly what I wanted. My heart rate's up. I'm like paddling as fast as I can just to stay in one place. But the wind got a little stronger, and it started to go backwards, and that caused me to lose going backwards on the sup was something I wasn't quite prepared for, and made me lose my balance. I fell in.
And it was a perfect. I had just turned around, so I'm here working. I think I was working on getting the screenshots ready for this video, and I happened to turn around, and I happened to catch him falling just right behind me, right in perfect view.
Yeah.
Make sure he's okay first, and then I laughed.
And I wasn't. No, I expected someday to fall off the sup, and it was like, oh, okay, going backwards is something I was not anticipating. That threw my balance off. Other than that, it's been great. And I actually once I got back on the sup, I went paddled around some more, and went back to the same spot to figure out what was it that caused me to fall. That seemed strange. I was doing really great there. It's like, oh, I basically recreated the situation, and the wind is like, once it starts going from standing still to moving backwards unexpectedly, that knocked me over. Got it. It was fun.
Cool. All right. So we're at about 45 minutes, which is
Okay.
a great length for an archive. So patrons, we'll see you in about 30 minutes in the secret room. And we're looking forward to hanging out and seeing what you guys have been up to. So
Cheers.
See you all later. Thanks for tuning in.
Go
How do I
there.
turn it off?
Go hit the back button back to the YouTube control room. And stop streaming. There we are. Bye.